Was Rome truly swallowed by the earth? Did a forgotten king's blood stain the very foundations of Europe? Could a volcanic eruption unleash a cataclysm that reshaped the Americas? Let's unravel a tangled history, a chaotic dance of empires, migrations, and whispers of forgotten gods. The story begins, predictably, with a boastful Welshman named Geoffrey of Monmouth. He claimed a lineage stretching back to Brutus, son of Aeneas, a Trojan prince who supposedly sailed to Britain after the fall of Troy. Forget the Romans, this was British history, a glorious saga of kings and heroes. He spun tales of Vortigern, a weak and foolish British king who invited Saxon mercenaries to build a wall that, according to Geoffrey, simply crumbled and disappeared, leaving a trail of Saxon corpses. Was this a simple fabrication, a clever propaganda piece meant to demonize the Saxons? Or did a kernel of truth lie buried beneath layers of legend? Meanwhile, across the Mediterranean, Zosimus, a late Roman historian, offered a starkly different perspective. He chronicled the decline of the empire, not with heroic tales of kings, but with grim accounts of political corruption, economic woes, and the relentless pressure of barbarian tribes. He described the Goths, Alans, and Vandals as a storm that ravaged the Roman provinces, a relentless tide eroding the foundations of civilization. Did Zosimus see the seeds of Rome's downfall, or simply lament its inevitable demise? Then came al-Tabari, a Persian historian writing in the 10th century, documenting the rise and fall of the Abbasid Caliphate. He meticulously recorded the events of the 8th century, including the devastating Umayyad sack of Constantinople in 717 to 718. His accounts, based on eyewitnesses and scattered sources, paint a terrifying picture of looting, arson, and widespread destruction. Was this a singular event, or the precursor to a new era of Islamic expansion? Walter Pohl, examining the Vandals, argued they weren't simply barbaric raiders. He revealed a complex society with a sophisticated system of governance and a surprising degree of self-sufficiency. Paulus Orosius, writing in the 6th century, offered a similar nuanced view of the Goths, portraying them as a proud and resilient people who had adapted to Roman life while retaining their own traditions. Did these historians challenge the simplistic narratives of the past, revealing the hidden complexities of ancient societies? The 4th century witnessed a theological storm brewing in the Christian world. Ambrose of Milan, a powerful bishop, clashed with Emperor Theodosius over the appointment of a new patriarch of Constantinople. George Hunston Williams, analyzing Ambrose's letters and sermons, argued that the conflict was rooted in a struggle for power between the church and the state. Ambrose, invoking the authority of the scriptures, demanded that the emperor respect the independence of the church. Was this a battle for spiritual supremacy or a pragmatic struggle for political influence? Zosimus and Socrates, two church historians, documented the persecution of Christians under the Roman emperors Diocletian and Galerius. Their accounts, based on surviving testimonies, paint a harrowing picture of torture, imprisonment, and execution. Jerome, in his letters, lamented the decline of classical learning and the rise of superstition. Did these events mark a turning point in the history of Christianity, a period of intense persecution and renewal? Then, in 395 AD, Rome itself fell silent. A horde of Goths, led by Alaric, breached the city's walls and looted its treasures. The event, meticulously recorded by Zosimus and other chroniclers, sent shockwaves throughout the empire. Procopius, a Byzantine historian writing decades later, offered a vivid and unflattering account of the sack, describing the chaos, violence, and moral decay. The city, once the center of the world, was reduced to rubble, a symbol of Roman decline. Was this the final, devastating blow to a once mighty empire? The aftermath was a scramble for power in the fragmented empire. Orosius described the rise of the Vandals and the Ostrogoths, portraying them as formidable warriors who posed a constant threat to Roman stability. Theodoric the Great, an Ostrogothic king, eventually established a kingdom in Italy, transforming the peninsula into a new center of power. Did Theodoric represent a new order, a fusion of Roman and Germanic traditions? Early medieval Europe was a patchwork of kingdoms and tribal territories, constantly shifting and vying for dominance. Finlay Hooper highlighted the role of Roman realities in shaping the political landscape. Roger Collins examined the complex processes of state formation in the early Middle Ages. J.B. Barry, analyzing the later Roman Empire, pointed to the growing instability and fragmentation that ultimately led to its collapse. The 6th century saw the rise of the Franks, a Germanic tribe who gradually expanded their territory across Gaul. Gregory of Tours, a Frankish chronicler, meticulously documented the history of his people, blending historical accounts with legendary tales. The Anglo-Saxons, meanwhile, were establishing their own kingdoms in Britain, building churches and imposing their own laws. Was this a period of cultural exchange or of conquest and domination? The Gupta Empire in India, a beacon of prosperity and learning, began to decline in the 6th century. David Christian traced the factors that contributed to its downfall, including economic problems, political instability, and the rise of rival kingdoms. Procopius, in his History of the Wars, described the devastating impact of the Hunnic invasions on the Eastern Roman Empire. Wilhelm Barthold explored the complex geography and history of Iran, highlighting the influence of the Persian Empire on the region. The Huns, a nomadic people from Central Asia, unleashed a wave of destruction across Europe in the 4th and 5th centuries. Jordanes, a 6th century historian, described the Huns as a fearsome and ruthless people, driving other tribes westward. Ammianus Marcellinus, a Roman soldier, documented the Huns' impact on the Roman provinces, describing their raids and their devastating effects on the local population. Leo the Great, the Bishop of Rome, appealed to Attila the Hun for mercy, attempting to negotiate a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Attila, the Scourge of God, led his Huns in a series of devastating raids across Europe. Gregory of Tours recounted Attila's campaigns in Gaul, describing the widespread destruction and terror he inflicted. Ian Wood examined the complex political and military factors that contributed to Attila's rise to power. Hydatius, a 6th century historian, provided a detailed account of Attila's invasion of Gaul, highlighting the devastation he caused. The Byzantine Empire, the eastern remnant of the Roman Empire, continued to thrive in the centuries following Attila's death. Joshua the Stylite, a hermit who spent 60 years chained to a pillar, documented the history of the Byzantine Empire. Procopius, in his History of the Wars, described the Byzantine army's military prowess and its ability to withstand numerous invasions. Ostrogorsky analyzed the unique characteristics of the Byzantine state, highlighting its centralized bureaucracy and its sophisticated legal system. The rise of Islam in the 7th century transformed the Middle East and North Africa. Al-Tabari meticulously documented the events of the early Islamic conquests, describing the rapid expansion of the Arab armies. The early Islamic Empire faced challenges from the Byzantine Empire and the Sasanian Persian Empire, leading to a long and protracted period of conflict. Mary Boyce explored the religious and cultural complexities of early Islam, highlighting the influence of Zoroastrianism and Judaism. The Merovingian kings of Francia struggled to consolidate their power in the 6th and 7th centuries. Gregory of Tours, a Frankish chronicler, meticulously documented the history of his people, blending historical accounts with legendary tales. The rise of the Carolingian dynasty marked a turning point in Frankish history, ushering in a new era of stability and prosperity. The Irish kingdoms were engaged in a constant struggle for dominance in the 4th and 5th centuries. Niall of the Nine Hostages, a legendary king, raided throughout Britain and Ireland, establishing a network of alliances and rivalries. Tom Pete Cross and Clark Harris Slover, examining ancient Irish tales, revealed the complex and often contradictory narratives surrounding Niall's life and deeds. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, converted the Irish to Christianity, establishing a new religious center in the country. The Gupta Empire, a golden age of Indian civilization, declined in the 6th century. David Christian traced the factors that contributed to its downfall, including economic problems, political instability, and the rise of rival kingdoms. Procopius, in his History of the Wars, described the devastating impact of the Hunnic invasions on the Eastern Roman Empire. The rise of the Sasanians in Persia challenged the Byzantine Empire for centuries. Irfan Shahid examined the complex political and military factors that contributed to the rivalry between the two empires. The early Christian Church grappled with theological controversies, particularly the nature of Christ. Kelly examined the development of Christian doctrine, highlighting the debates over the Trinity and the role of the Holy Spirit. Augustine, a prominent theologian, argued for the doctrine of original sin. The Byzantine Empire, the eastern remnant of the Roman Empire, continued to thrive in the centuries following Attila's death. The rise of Orthodoxy, a distinct branch of Christianity, shaped the religious and cultural landscape of the empire. The Ostrogothic kingdom in Italy established a new center of power in the 5th and 6th centuries. Thomas Morehead examined the political and social dynamics of the Ostrogothic kingdom, highlighting its complex relationship with the Roman population. The rise of the Franks marked a turning point in European history. Gregory of Tours, a Frankish chronicler, meticulously documented the history of his people, blending historical accounts with legendary tales. The decline of the Gupta Empire ushered in a period of political fragmentation in India. The rise of new kingdoms challenged the authority of the Gupta dynasty, leading to a long and turbulent period of conflict. The Huns unleashed a wave of destruction across Europe in the 4th and 5th centuries. Jordanes, a 6th century historian, described the Huns as a fearsome and ruthless people, driving other tribes westward. The sack of Rome in 410 AD marked a turning point in the history of the Roman Empire. Procopius, a Byzantine historian writing decades later, described the chaos, violence, and moral decay that followed the sack. The events of the 6th century witnessed a dramatic shift in the balance of power in Europe. The rise of the Franks, the decline of the Roman Empire, and the migrations of Germanic tribes all contributed to a period of profound transformation. The rise of Islam transformed the Middle East and North Africa. Al-Tabari meticulously documented the events of the early Islamic conquests, describing the rapid expansion of the Arab armies. The rise of the Carolingian dynasty ushered in a new era of stability and prosperity in Francia. Gregory of Tours, a Frankish chronicler, meticulously documented the history of his people, blending historical accounts with legendary tales. The events of the 6th century witnessed a dramatic shift in the balance of power in Europe. The rise of the Franks, the decline of the Roman Empire, and the migrations of Germanic tribes all contributed to a period of profound transformation. The story ends not with a triumphant conclusion but with a haunting question. Was the world truly doomed, or was it merely undergoing a period of profound transformation? Did the echoes of forgotten empires still resonate in the halls of power, or were they destined to fade into the mists of time?